Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships Legends. I am the Grizzly Gamer. Today we're going to be running the Tier 5 Japanese battleship, the Mighty Mutsu. So we are running the Mutsu B. It sets up for a pretty good brawler battleship on the Japanese tier, has better armor than the Fuso, has 58,000 hit points, moves along at 26 knots, with a turning radius of about 770 meters. The rudder shift comes in at 13 seconds. You can have a spotter plane, a catapult fighter, or the enhanced secondary targeting, as I have equipped here. Most of the time, the enemy team won't allow me to get close enough to do any brawling with her, but she does come with the 410mm main cannons, loaded in 2 dual mounts on 4 turrets, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. You do have 4 533mm torpedo tubes, 2 on each side of the ship. Reload fairly quickly at about 21 seconds per tube. Detectability of about 1.2 kilometers. The speed's a little low, but it's not really meant to be sent out at long-range engagements. More or less meant for up-close brawling. As you're going to see later in this 3v1 that I get into against 2 battleships and a cruiser, I'm able to really utilize those torpedoes to take down the enemy, and it really comes in handy more than even my main battery does. So whenever I'm in a standard deathmatch, my priority is not always to rush forward and engage the enemy. More or less, I like to take a defensive stance a little bit, take some shots where I can, let the battle kind of unfold and see where to go from there. Sometimes when you rush in too early without the tactical advantage, you end up giving your ship to the enemy team and letting your team down. Each ship has a total number of hit points that it can take and a total number of points that it gives up. And so I can't remember what the exact calculation is, but I believe a battleship's worth about 65 points to your team. So if you die, I think you gain 45 points if you kill the enemy, but if you die, I think you lose 65 points. And so sometimes it's better for you to stay alive longer versus going and trying to catch that kill. So as I'm passing by, I see this Fuso's kind of lined up on the island back there. Really couldn't tell where the island began and his ship ended. So I fired a salvo off, went ahead, hit him in the guns for 8,000 damage, was able to incapacitate one for a short while. Decided to go ahead and fire 2 torpedoes out at that smoke cloud out there, see if there's anybody in there. Not really thinking I'm going to hit them, but it does kind of pop up on their radar and let them know to back off a little bit. Might even force them out of their smoke prematurely into one of my friendly players to go ahead and take some shots and knock them out. And I started adjusting my armor in a little bit more. Somebody's taking some shots on me, a low caliber gun. Probably that Leander that's sitting out there that went undetected. I'm going to go ahead and turn around, fire some torpedoes into that smoke cloud as well, just to let him know the same thing, back off. That way you don't run in and try to do a torpedo attack on me. And so as I'm waiting for my guns to reload, wasn't quite able to get engaged onto that Arizona. He's moving a little too quick to cover, but I do see this Iron Dude trying to retreat to cover and repair his ship. And I'm going to go ahead and knock him out for 12,000 damage, picking up a first blood medal. And so as we're waiting for our guns to get reloaded here, we're kind of going to do a little bit of adjustment in our sailing. Don't want to sail in just a straight line. There is a couple of cruisers out here that have torpedoes that could be launched on you. You kind of want to keep them guessing exactly where you're going to go. Not out of play of the battle, but just where you're keeping your ship kind of angled at the enemy and also being able to take a couple of shots yourself as you continue to move. And as you can see, we're all kind of moving over here to what was originally the starboard side of my ship. I fire out of that Arizona, didn't really have him lined up very well, complete airball, only hit him with 1 shell for 1,000 damage, not really all that exciting at all. However, I'm going to get my guns required on him, try to line up just a little bit better. He's presenting a pretty good angle to me. American battleships are well armored anyway, however these 410mm guns still will do quite a bit of decent damage, even not getting a citadel from that range. So once I get acquired, go ahead and fire on him, see if I can get a better salvo than before. I believe I hit him up for about 8,000 damage total, getting a couple of shells to penetrate, a couple of overpins, and start looking for how to acquire on that Leander. And so there we hit him up for 8,000 on one, 4,000 on another, for about a total combined damage of 12,000 damage. And so I start lining up here on this Leander. One of the unfortunate facts about the 410mm guns is that the 410mm overpin most lightweight cruisers, especially the Leander. If I was in a lower caliber battleship like maybe the Normandy, which has I think 343s or 350s, they penetrate into the Leander a lot better. Not as big caliber, it doesn't just go through it. Like you see, I thought that shot was pretty straight. The grouping was pretty spot on, and we hit, barely do any damage, getting 3 to 4 overpins, and just not really that great of AP against small lightweight cruisers. If I would have been thinking about it more in the moment, I would have switched to HE, set a couple of fires, maybe even got a penetration into the Citadel of that Leander. I know the tier 4 British cruiser, the Emerald, can be citadeled with HE just about from any angle. The Leander was a better play, a little bit more forgiving than the Emerald, but not exactly better armored by any means. And so, unfortunately, that Leander makes a pretty good mood, starts trying to drop a smoke screen for his Battleship. I'm going to line up on him one more time, trying to get him knocked off the board so he can quit pesking away at that Pensacola. Unfortunately, he got him off the board before I could get the Leander off the board. I asked for a little support from the rest of the team, hoping somebody else would take a shot on the Leander that might have some shells that would actually penetrate and do some damage. Couldn't quite get any support there. I believe they're probably more concerned about the Arizona, as am I. Before I turn around to engage the enemy team behind us, I really wanted to get this Arizona. He seems to be the biggest threat to me, mainly because he is an American battleship. He does run with guns aplenty. The accuracy is not that bad on the Arizona. The AP damage is pretty good, so is the HE. He seems to be playing as a slightly skilled player, pushing in kind of aggressive, keeping his ship angled, landing his shots, and scratching our team off the board. And so I don't want to have to worry about the 3 people that are pushing up on my flank, and then also have to worry about this Arizona turning in to engage me as well. And so I heard the Fuso calling for help. I was like, hey bud, I hear you, I'm turning around. Before I could really get turned around and engaged to help him, unfortunately he took the final shot and ended up going to see Davy Jones' locker. So we're going to go ahead, turn around, try to defend the base. I radio in for help, looking at the battlefield, I'm like, there's really not much help to come and assist me. Unfortunately, that Russian tier 4 out there, and I don't remember what cruiser was actually escorting him, they're both engaged against the Leander and the Arizona, and I believe they have their hands full. So unfortunately, it's going to turn this into a 3v1 on me trying to defend the base. I'm going to go in with the best approach I can, try to use the island for cover. I feel like with the Mutsu, the closer you get, the better their armor performs, so I'm going to try to close that gap as quickly as I can. And so the first ship that comes on my radar is the enemy Fuso, the one I took a shot at before. Was able to incapacitate his guns, but really not just do any lasting damage. Doesn't really look like he's taking too many hits from that original engagement. Go ahead and fire off at him with the front guns, hit him up for about 5,000 damage off the bat. I'm going to angle at this island a little bit more, try to close the gap just a little bit more before I swing back to my starboard side, open up the forward and back guns, and unleash some torpedoes on this guy as well. And so as I'm making my approach, I notice that the cruiser's starting to approach from the other side, which is bad news for me. For this engagement to work, I need all these people to come in close so the Mutsu can do what it's best at, and that's close and quarters brawling. If that cruiser would have stayed out there at a distance, it would have been a lot more hectic for me taking either HE or AP from him, instead of being able to get up close and take him out with my secondaries like what I need to do. We go ahead and fire 2 shots at him with the front guns. The dispersion ends up awful. We only get 1 hit into him for about 1,000 damage. Luckily, he's only got about 1/3 of his health left anyway. We're going to go ahead and start focusing in on this Fuso. I don't want him to ram me. I hope he's just going to engage me in a duel. That way I have a fair shot at trying to defeat him. If he would have just rammed me right off the back, this video would have been a lot shorter and we would have ended up losing this game. And so we're going to go ahead and get 2 torpedoes out at him. The torpedoes don't do a whole lot of damage. Only about 4,000 per 2. Or per torpedo. Really not that impressed, but what I am thankful for is the flooding it causes. And so with that flooding, he's going to have to use his damage con. In 21 seconds, 20 seconds, I'm going to have 2 more torpedoes ready for him. Going to cause flooding all over again. His damage con is going to be used. My HE secondary is going to start firing. We're going to get a couple of fires, and he's not going to be on this game at all. We'll be sending him to Davy Jones' blocker here shortly. And so as we kind of turn, try to keep our ship angled in between the Brittany and the Fuso. We're going to get a couple of torpedoes out of that Brittany over there. I'm going to launch one kind of slightly in front of where it says it's going to be, and then one right on the money, just in case he decides to adjust course, slow down, or speed up. Letting our secondaries go ahead and eat up that cruiser, picking up a Confederate and a close quarters expert. We're going to fire some more shots with the Brittany, taking a little bit more of his health. Fuso's almost gone. He's on fire. He's bleeding out. He's not going to be here long at all. And luckily, we're going to make it out of this engagement with at least 8,000 damage. It looks like that cruiser did get torpedoes off at us. Luckily, the Italian torpedoes aren't that deadly. He hits me, causes flooding. Luckily, I've been saving my damage con for just this moment. I was able to reach my damage con, go ahead, start healing up, and turn around and engage this Leander. And so again, this Leander was only able to make it this long because most of my shots ended up overpinning. And still, we're going to overpin here. Like I said, if I would have been thinking about it more in the game, I would have switched to HE, but honestly at this prize I was just surprised that I was able to make it out of that engagement without dying. And so we're going to turn in a little sharp because we know a cruiser this close, he is the Leander, he can launch torps, you know he did launch torps. One of the cool things about the British cruisers is they can launch individual torps in sequential instead of just widespread or narrow spread. And so that can be a little difficult sometimes when you're needing to thread the gap and you're in a large ship like a battleship or something of that nature. But luckily we went ahead and made the turn, and he launched his torpedoes in a straight 4-man spread, go right by us with no concern whatsoever. And so we were lucky enough to be able to take a losing game. We were down on points and on ships. It seems like we were completely outnumbered. However, we went in, set ourselves up well to keep our armor angled, got our torpedoes fired, got our main batteries fired, and were able to take down the enemy team and secure this win. And sure enough, I normally have quite a few games where I almost get a Kraken, and because I could not get quite into the armor of that Leander I needed to secure the kill, the Vikelvi over there ends up getting the last kill. I'm like, that's a great guy. Really don't care as long as we win the match, considering that we were slated to lose just seconds ago.
That's how it's done.
Well, that's the end of this match, folks. We pulled off a win after almost losing the entire match. Thanks for watching. We end with 169,000 damage. If you liked the video, let me know down in the comments. If you want to know what commander setup I use for my Mutsu Bravo, then go ahead, reach out, let me know. I might do another video letting you know my commander setup, or if you want to let me know in the comments down how you have your Mutsu set up. I'd love to hear about it. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.